Welcome to another episode of All Four Downs Podcast. I'm Obi-Wan, and I'm going to be covering down the college football playoffs. That's right. And this Tuesday, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will announce their first top 12 and overall the top 25 of the official rankings as we get set to get on the road to the national championship. It's a lot of fun. And I tell you what, it was really, really amazing to see all these games going on Saturday. A lot of upsets and the big difference in the college football standings. That's right. Each conference, top two teams, do they all have a shot at making it to the playoffs? Are we separating the contenders from the pretenders? Man, you better stay tuned to this, because I'm going to tell you exactly my projection as to how the college football committee will select their teams as we move on. But hey, let's recap of what happened this Saturday. Texas A&M, which was the leader of the SEC, they fall short. And how do they fall short when you're just in that window of that conversation to be in the bye week? Not more, no more. South Carolina shuts down the Aggies in the second half as they win 44-20. Ohio State, Penn State, the biggest hype, right? Can Penn State win? Can James Franklin lead the way? No, absolutely not. And to tell you what, the offense did not score a touchdown. Only 2 field goals. And then the touchdown came in the first quarter when it was a defensive interception, to run for the end zone. Other than that, it was Ohio State all the way, winning 20-13. Clemson falls down to Louisville. Man, it's a big shocker right there because I thought Clemson was going to lead the way in the ACC. Louisville upsets Clemson. And what is going on with Georgia? I mean, Carson Beck is just Mr. Interception Man, and his stocks is going all the way down, especially when he's soon going to be drafted into the NFL. Hey, he no longer round one, I tell you that one. But I tell you this, Florida, they play, but it's unfortunate that their star quarterback, their backup quarterback, got injured. And even though Georgia did win 34-20, but one has to scratch their head as of, are they really the top team in college football? Also, Houston upsets Kansas State 24-19. Minnesota upsets Illinois 25-17. Texas Tech shuts down Iowa State. I mean, wow, man. In the second half, 13-9. It's unbelievable that Iowa State, which also was leading the Big 12, now they fall down. And lastly, SMU made a huge statement to all college football that they are the team to beat. 8-1, 5-0 in their conference. It was a great match, but there had to be a winner and a loser, right? SMU manhandles Pittsburgh 48-25. I'm telling you what, with these games and everything else, this is the reason why my projection to the college football playoffs is what it is. And I'm going to start with this. Oregon, number one. There's no argument there. They're 9-0, and they deserve it, okay? They beat Ohio State and Boise State, Illinois. Those are the 3 teams that were potentially ranked. We'll see how they're ranked after Tuesday. Illinois, on the other hand, bye-bye. Boise State, they're making a lot of noise. They got to start running back. That might be a Heisman winner, maybe. But Ohio State beating Penn State, giving more leverage as to why Oregon's number one. At number 2, I got the Bulldogs. They're in first place in the SEC now. That's why they're positioned to where they're at. But their only loss comes to Alabama. They looked resilient and they persevered, even though they lost to Alabama. However, the last 2 weeks does not look good for Georgia. Okay, they're struggling. I don't know what to tell you, but I believe that the community will put them in there because of the right there at number one in the SEC. Number three, BYU. It's the second year that they're in the Big 12. Kalani Sitake leads this program. 8-0, 5-0 in record in the conference. They are one game away to replicate their best start since 2020 season. And number four, I have SMU. We could argue that Miami should be there. But if you look at compare the two teams, SMU looks a lot better. Yes, they're both undefeated in the conference, but I'm going to tell you right now, despite losing to BYU in week 3, SMU's first season in the ACC has been spectacular. They're 5-0 in their conference. And no, they don't play Miami. But should both these teams finish at the end undefeated, then you know who's going to be in the ACC championship. Okay? They are technically tied right now, but we'll wait to see because there's still a lot of football left. All right. And number 5, we could argue it could be Boise State. But if you look at it closely, I'd rather go for an undefeated team like Army. They're 8-0. And in 2 weeks, they do play Notre Dame, and that could leverage to see whether or not they're contenders or pretenders. We already saw what Navy been through against Notre Dame. Army has to play North Texas first, and then they go on to play Notre Dame in West Point, New York. All right, let's see what else I have going on to host the first rounds. We got Indiana at number 8, Ohio State number 6, and at number 7, I have Texas. Yes, Ohio State. They did defeat Penn State, but is Penn State really that type of team? I mean, that was the big test for Penn State, right? Either one of them, really, because Ohio State did lose to Oregon. That was a close call. Maybe that got a lot of weight, maybe, right? But Penn State, I mean, every year everyone got them ranked always on top. And I always said every season that they're the third best team. And I almost was convinced that they were going to pull it off. But it's the same old, same old. The offense didn't score a touchdown. How can you even put them in the top 12 if they can't score touchdowns? Just saying. I mean, we really got to look at this, okay? This was the chance for Penn State, but no, Ohio State took advantage. They're 7-1, and Ohio State does play Indiana, okay? Indiana that I have at number 8. Should Ohio State win out, they could have a rematch against Oregon, and let's see if that will play out to see who will be the Big Ten champion. And if that's the case, Ohio State can bump Oregon. Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, number 7, Texas. The Longhorns struggled in their last 2 games. They lost to Georgia. They won by a field goal against Vanderbilt. They needed this bye week to get by all that, and hopefully they will get back into their winning ways like they normally do. However, their last game, or should I say the last 2 games, is going to be tough. But the rivalry, Texas A&M, that's right, last game of the season, you want to book that one. And number 8, I said Indiana, they're undefeated, but do they look like Penn State or are they for real? Because if Indiana could beat Ohio State, we're looking at Indiana versus Oregon in the Big Ten championship. And if that's the case, Ohio State is going to be eliminated if Indiana does defeat Ohio State. I'm just saying, that's going to be a strong possibility unless politics plays and then all of a sudden Ohio State squeeze in at number 12 or number 11. Just saying. All right. Number 9. Well, I'm not even there yet. Excuse me. But I will now. Number 9, Notre Dame. The Irish won 6 straight games despite the mishap loss to Northern Illinois. But they played Navy. They were ranked. They play Army in 2 weeks. They're currently ranked. Will that have volume? I mean, poor, our military men, the Army and Navy. But yeah, that's going to be a close one. Let's see what that happens, right? However, Notre Dame 7-1, are they really legitimate in the top 12? As of now, they're winning. Unless the committee has something else, I got to understand what they're going through, right? At number 10, I got Miami. We could switch Miami and SMU. It doesn't matter because both of them are undefeated. But yes, Miami is 9-0 and they haven't lost not one game. I get it. But Miami hasn't been playing that great. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, their defense have surrendered what? Over 30 points in 4 of the last 5 games? I mean, there was 2 close call games that Miami could have had 2 losses already. It wasn't that convincing compared to SMU. Just saying. At least SMU have played a top 25 team. We can't say that for Miami. At number 11, Tennessee. The Vols technically are tied in a one-loss team. There are 5 teams in SEC tied with 1 loss. However, they do play Georgia in 2 weeks. So if Tennessee got to win to stay in, or they're going to be looking outside of the college football playoffs. And lastly, number 12, I have Texas A&M suffered a loss to a motivated South Carolina, 44-20. They face Auburn in Texas in their last 2 games of the SEC schedule. All right, 3 games remaining, 2 of them SEC. Let's see what happens there. Outside looking in, look closely. LSU, Alabama, Penn State, Boise State. They could be included as well. And then also Tulane, Ole Miss, Iowa State, and Pittsburgh. All that in consideration, I'm going to tell you what, it is probably the best conversation that we can have about college football playoffs. Who's in, who's out, who's looking outside, looking in. There's so much that you could look at what angle, but I'm going to tell you what, let's give some respect to the teams right now that are undefeated because of the wealth of talent across college football. All right. Number 1 guaranteed is going to be Oregon. Everybody else, let's see how they rank the conferences, right? Because the top 4 conferences get a bye week. The 5th conference get they have to play the first round, right? Just like I see right there, Oregon, SMU, BYU, Georgia, and Army. But all that could be different. Who knows? But this is what's so awesome about having discussion about the playoffs and everything else. Big changes, and it's going to continue to change. But my thing is, my question is, moving on, is Oregon ranked number 1. Will they remain number 1 by the time the season is over? Thank you for watching the All 4 Downs, and tune in at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my reaction of the College Football Committee with myself and Joe Aguirre. It's a lot of football, man. A lot. What's your take? Who's your top teams? Leave a message below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and Facebook. Gotta love some football, baby. Oh, yeah.